Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, in all presidencies, some people step up to the administration while others swing and miss. As of late, Marco Rubio has been hammering home runs one after the other after the other. Behold, one such home run. Press play, Viva.
I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State.
Nobody gives a sweet bugger all, Van Hollen. You should shut your filthy mouth and let Marco Rubio smack you down like he will in about 30 seconds.
I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job.
Yes.
Based on what I know.
Well, that's
about
just
your
a
record and
flippant
what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't
Okay.
ask.
Senator,
question.
please let the
I didn't ask a
I'd be happy
question.
to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's
response.
up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well-
Your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr.
So
Chairman,
you mentioned Van Hollen, margarita drinking, supporting illegal alien wife beater. His defense is, in my 7 minutes, I didn't ask a question for Rubio to respond to. Oh my goodness, I'll stop and enjoy.
Secretary, please.
Well, I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial
Secretary.
support services.
I
with
raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I
not
respond,
Mozambique.
Mr.
Senator,
Chairman,
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes.
I chose
railing
to
on-
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use my
suspend.
I chose to use my 7 minutes to berate Marco Rubio and not ask a question and then say he doesn't get to say anything because I didn't ask him a question in my 7 minutes of public berating. Shut your filthy mouth, Van Hollen. You are awful. Truly awful.
And
that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one that you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come,
Mr.
you're going to see
Chairman,
who you went to
look,
defend.
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You've had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court of
Senator,
the United States because
well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach to that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador, I am under no obligation under our division of powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts or frankly with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again.
Just pause it right there. Get his tongue back in his mouth. Oh,
Break trust with them.
pause it. We need the.
So I have complied with every court.
This is mic drop. Bring down the sunglasses. Stick in the doobie. Don't stick in the doobie, people. Don't do drugs. Marco Rubio crushing it. Now everyone's saying, this is presidential material. My understanding of the order of things is it would be J.D. Vance in 2028. And so one does not want to give competition to J.D. Vance. But Marco Rubio I remember making fun of little Marco. I didn't use the word little Marco because back then I was much more polite and I was reserved and I would give analysis and not be sassy. How times have changed. Marco Rubio, I don't know, has leveled up. It's like he's on intellectual steroids, people. And it's amazing. One thing I had the idea earlier, has anyone FOIA'd Van Hollen's trip expenditures to El Salvador? That whole thing about, I didn't order the margarita. It was Bukele who brought the margaritas unordered, unasked for in order to snap that photo and embarrass me. I'm skeptical. No, I don't trust anything, and we're going to get into it in a second. I don't trust anything. What you do is you gather the information you can from all the sources you can, trusted and untrusted, and trustworthy and untrustworthy, because you can glean information even from untrustworthy sources. But I'd like to know. I don't believe that he didn't order the margarita. I believe that if someone brings something to your table in a foreign country that you didn't order, you say something the second it gets to the table. Now, maybe that's just my neuroses and someone's, bringing potential poison to the table. And I'd say, no, take your poison back. I didn't order that. That would have been my reaction, not to sit there with a margarita glass and a photo up with the guy because he went down for the photo. Okay, set that aside. Fuck Marco Rubio. Someone really likes Marco Rubio. Man, slow it down. I think he's married. Bada bing, bada boom. One does not just fuck Marco Rubio, people. And no, I understood that was disapproval and not a request for fornication. I'm liking Marco Rubio these days. And I'm glad we could start with that unrelated clip of Marco Rubio to bring up the mic drop clip of Marco Rubio addressing what some are calling fake news, what others are calling treasonous leaks of classified information. And it's an amazing thing to see how people digest information depending on their proclivities and depending on what they want to see in that information. I'm trying to understand Schrodinger's cat, or Schrodinger's cat, whatever the hell you pronounce it, the paradox or the mind thought experiment of Schrodinger's cat, a cat which is both alive and dead until it's observed. I don't understand the paradox, so I don't understand if I'm using the analogy properly. But I'm becoming increasingly convinced that what we are witnessing in real time, it's an iteration of the one screen, two films. We're looking at the same thing. And we will interpret it in light of how we want to interpret it, in light of the future agendas that we either want to pursue, want to avoid, or want to prove. The example that we're going to deal with today is the breaking news of the alleged leaks of classified intel to the effect that the mission, Operation Midnight Hammer, was not the smashing total obliteration success that the administration claimed it was, but that it did damage, but not as much damage as was expected. Why I say this is Schrodinger's cat, someone's killing me in the chat because I'm not pronouncing it properly. We are going to look at the same thing, and it will either be total obliteration or insufficient obliteration, depending on what you want to see out of that same image, that same set of facts. If you're the Mark Levins of the world and you wanted this conflict to escalate into broader conflict, deeper war, you're going to look at it and say, we didn't do enough, we got to go back, we got to escalate. If you're CNN, you're going to look at it and say, they didn't do enough, Trump failed. If you're Trump admin, you're going to say, we did enough, we did a massive amount of damage. Well, it's not total obliteration, annihilation, because things are still there. But it's going to be the argument that it was a massively successful mission that has set Iran back months, if not years, and therefore mission accomplished. Marco Rubio addresses the fake news in another mic drop moment. This is Eric Doherty. Mic drop. Secretary of State Marco Rubio absolutely obliterates the narrative that Trump's strikes on Iran were somehow, quote, ineffective, end quote, against Iran's nuclear regime. Understand the terminology here. Ineffective might be an understatement. Obliteration. Did it do everything under the sun that you wanted it to do? If you're CNN and you want to say Trump didn't have a successful mission, you'll interpret it as saying no. If you're Mark Levin and you want to say no, we got to get back, you'll say no. If you're the Trump administration, you're going to say it did everything we needed to do. Listen to this. Well, we don't need to hear me listen to the thing. You're going to listen to Marco Rubio say it himself.
First of all this stuff about the intelligence, this is what a leaker is telling you the intelligence says. That's the game these people play. They read it, and then they go out and characterize it the way they want it characterized, and they're leakers. This is the game they play. So that's number one. Number two, here's a fact. The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility. We can't even find where it is, where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone.
It's wiped out.
It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in two places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape. And I refer you to the statement of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi. You know what he said? He said there was Iran, the way it looked the day before the attack, and what their nuclear program looks like now. Two very different things. They are way behind where they were just 7 days ago. Now, anything in the world can be rebuilt, but now we know where it is. And if they try to rebuild it, we'll have options there as well. But all this leaker stuff, these leakers are professional. stabbers. That's what they are. They go out and they read this stuff, and then they tell you what it says against the law, but they characterize it for you in a way that's absolutely false. There's no way Iran comes to the table if somehow nothing had happened. This was complete and total obliteration. They're in bad shape. They are way behind today compared to where they were just 7 days ago because of what the president did.
Now, we'll pause that for 1 second. Let me grab it and bring it back here. So for those of you who may not have heard the news, there was an article written in CNN as per leaks of classified information from people familiar with the source that the strikes were not, I mean, we're talking about variations of success that depending on what you want to see, you'll see what you want to see. The leaker said it didn't destroy everything. So therefore, CNN will say mission was a failure. Mark Levin will say mission not yet accomplished. We need to still go to hot war with Iran. And the leak was violative of the law. Now, Caroline Levitt yesterday, after the news broke, came out and said, the story's false and it's classified information that should never have been leaked, and whoever did it is traitors. Now, two things can be true at once, but some people, you can argue for them. You don't need to agree with the argument. Some people are going to say, well, if it's classified and leaked and therefore illegal, is it accurate? And if it's inaccurate, then why qualify it with saying that it's also a classified leak of information? One could argue that it can't both be classified information and inaccurate at the same time. You don't need to be a philosophizer to appreciate that. The reality is more like Marco Rubio explained, it might be true, but incomplete, and therefore giving an incomplete picture of the situation. But if you hadn't heard, hold on, that's not the right one. That was the second one I want to bring up because we got to, speaking of reliable sources and being predictably wrong, and therefore being able to gauge assessment accordingly, even from knowingly unreliable sources. This is what Caroline Levitt said in respect of the story. Is it only yesterday? My goodness, it was only yesterday. And it was 4:00 in the afternoon yesterday. Fake news, CNN strikes again from Caroline Levitt. The alleged, quote, assessment, end quote, is flat out wrong and was classified as, quote, top secret, end quote, but was still leaked to CNN by anonymous, low-level loser in the intelligence community. I'm playing devil's advocate and steelmanning it. People are going to say, how can it be flat out wrong and also top secret? And some people are going to say the fact that they're acknowledging that it was a classified as top secret and leaked is a testament to the fact that it's accurate, and therefore the first half of the statement is misleading or government propaganda. I can hear people making that argument. People are making that argument. The flip side to that, to the extent that we know, as a matter of fact, that despite Trump making much better appointments to cabinets, to administration in 2025 than he did in 2016, 2017, you still have lingering holdouts, saboteurs within. Back in the day, you had, what was his name? General Mark Milley, within the administration, outright lying and outright treasonously, traitorously giving advance notice or advising adversaries that they will give advance notice if there's a strike on China, for example. You have Mark Milley lying to concealing information from the president as relates to troops in Syria. So you have saboteurs from within the administration that have not yet been purged. So it's not beyond the realm of reality that you might still have saboteurs in there who then prepare a wildly biased or interpreted based on what they want to see out of it, top secret classified document that they then leak to somebody to give it the illusion of credibility. That might be what we're seeing right now. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted a perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets. Total obliteration. So that is what Caroline Levitt had to say about the leak. She also had something else to say about the leak. When we're talking about predictably unreliable sources, you can surmise or at least assess in advance what might be predictably unreliable. This is Caroline Levitt addressing one of the three co-authors of the article. CNN story was written by the same, quote, reporter, end quote, who wrote the very first fake news story claiming the Hunter Biden laptop was disinformation. How'd that work out for you? At Natasha Bertrand. Can you imagine being Natasha Bertrand? Like, you'll never live this down. But remember, everybody, Natasha wasn't the one who was spreading disinformation. She was merely quoting what 51 intelligence officers were saying. And they themselves were not saying it was Russian disinformation. They were just saying it had the earmarks of a Russian information campaign. Hunter Biden's story, Russian disinfo, dozens of former intel officials say. More than 50 former intelligence officials signed a letter casting doubt on the provenance of the New York Post story on the former vice president's son. She didn't say anything objective. All that Natasha Bertrand said right there is that some people within the intelligence community are saying something. So what Natasha reported was 100% accurate, and she cannot be blamed as a propagandist attack. Okay. So disregard the story entirely. Some people are going to say, you don't get to do that. The administration acknowledges the leak came. It was classified top secret information, but it's inaccurate. Saboteur from within, trying to undermine the successful mission that the president had. And I can appreciate that a lot of people are going to adhere to that. My bottom line takeaway from all of it is we're dealing with Schrodinger's box, almost literally, as far as I understand the thought experiment. We don't know what's going on under the ground over there. We can see it when the IEAE comes in and says, yeah, what was there yesterday is no longer there today. We're looking at satellite images of what appears to be collapsed in hole in the desert, where you can see the 3 perfect entry marks of the bunker busting, which don't leave massive craters on land. They do devastation under the ground, and they're saying it has to be destroyed. Everybody knows what happens when you drop, 18 30,000-pound bunker busting missiles on a desert underground layer for nuclear development. Then others are going to say, okay, fine. Concede that it probably destroyed a lot of what's in there. We'll see the scope of the damage in the coming days. What happens if they got their expensive stuff out? What happens if they got their 400 kilograms of enriched uranium up to 60% out the day before, as some reports are claiming there was some abnormal vehicle activity in the area? All right, it destroyed everything in the holes. Let's just say obliterated substantially what was in the holes, but what was taken out for the purposes of potentially refining. Marco Rubio says the refining thing that makes the warhead, without which you don't have a nuclear warhead, substantially damaged, set back months, if not more. And at the end of the day, we are probably looking at the exact same thing and then concluding from it that which we want to conclude, either to discredit an administration, to give credit to the administration, to further justify further foreign conflict, or to further justify no more further conflict. And I think at this point in time, the administration would have it in their agenda to not want to promote further deeper conflict with Iran. I think they understand that. And even if it wasn't 1,000% success, they would pass it off as such so that they don't give the fear, the lingering impression that future additional strikes or further invasion might be necessary. But for the time being, let's just say it is flipping cool. I've been looking into like bunker busting bombs, and some of the footage out there of the tests are just mind-blowing. The B-2 bomber, or the stealth bomber, is the most amazing. It's a work of art. It's like when science achieves a certain level of awesomeness, it's indistinguishable from magic. Absolutely amazing. Someone's going to have to tell me along the lines if I'm misunderstanding the Schrodinger's box, but I think we're at that point right now. Substantial damage was done. Nobody can disagree with that. Whether or not it was good enough will only depend on what you want in the future or want to avoid in the future. CNN wants to make Trump look feckless. Good luck with that. There are some GOP members who are suggesting that Trump be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't think anyone with half a brain, set aside the Iran-Israel conflict, for everything that he's done already and in the past. We'll get to the Abraham Accords, give him another 3 years. How many? 3.5 years? And I don't think anybody with half a brain is going to deny that he deserves it. The only question is whether or not that Nobel Peace Prize is worth anything given the other illustrious, infamous people who have been awarded a Nobel Peace Prize.